This shepherd, who lives in the Lubaran mountains, spends weeks in the mountains with his flock, seeing no one except the person who brings him food. He receives food only once every 15 days, and he cannot speak to anyone except Aunt Nored, who brings the food. I was a shepherd in the Lubaran mountains. I would stay in the mountains for weeks at a time. Every 15 days, Aunt Nored would bring me food and tell me the news. I was most interested in the adventures of our master's daughter. One day, Aunt Nored, whom he was expecting to bring him food, didn't come. Instead, Stephanette, the master's daughter with whom he was secretly in love, brought him the food. Aunt Nored had fallen ill, so Stephanette brought the food in her place. One day, while waiting for food, I saw our young lady on the mule. She talked to me all day. I was so under her influence that I couldn't even utter a word. The shepherd is in love with the master's daughter, Stephanette. However, she hides these feelings and cannot confess anything to him. She left food for Stephanette and chatted with the shepherd for a while. Stephanette then left the shepherd to go home. However, the river she was crossing had risen, and Stephanette, having gotten completely soaked while trying to cross, was forced to return to the shepherd in her wet clothes, fearing she would drown. She returned towards evening. A few hours later, she came back completely drenched. It had happened when she tried to cross the overflowing river. I immediately took care of her, spreading my rug for her to sleep in the sheepfold. The shepherd gave the girl his bed in the sheepfold, and he sat outside by a fire. But Stephanette, unable to sleep, came to him, and together they gazed at the stars. The shepherd knew many stories about the stars and told them to Stephanette all night long. But she couldn't sleep and came to the fire I had lit. I began to tell her about the stars in the sky. She came, put her head on my shoulder, and fell asleep. It was the happiest day of my life. Stephanette dozed on the shepherd's shoulder, but the shepherd still couldn't confess his love. As dawn approached, the bright army of stars in the sky slowly began to fade. The shepherd felt he could carry the weight of that delicate head sleeping on his shoulder for the rest of his life. But the sunrise meant the end of this magical dream. When Stephanette awoke, her eyes held the peace of the night and the sparkle of the stars. The shepherd did not put his feelings for her into words, for the star stories he told her that night were, in fact, the deepest confessions of his soul. The river had receded, and the pass was safe again. The shepherd silently watched Stephanette until she mounted her mule. Just before she glided down the valley and disappeared from sight, she turned and smiled at the shepherd in such a way that it was brighter for him than even the brightest star in the Lubaran mountains. From that day on, the shepherd continued to wait for Stephanette, but his solitude in the mountains was no longer the same. From that day on, the shepherd continued to wait for Stephanette, but his solitude in the mountains was no longer the same. Whenever night fell and the sky spread its magnificent veil, he would smile at the imaginary weight he felt on his shoulders and name the brightest star, Stephanette. And the stars were now This story we're sharing today may have reached you right now, at that magical moment when you need it most. Life can sometimes tire you, wear you down, or make you feel incomplete, just like in the story of the cracked bucket. But never forget this: you are a unique, irreplaceable miracle in this world. Every crack in nature is an opportunity for light to seep in and for you to bloom again in your most beautiful form. But remember, a cracked bucket doesn't diminish the value of the water inside. As in the story of Cornella's secret, a windmill not turning doesn't change the fact that the wind is still God's breath. No matter how much life dirties you, no matter how much it breaks you, the pure light in the depths of your soul will never go out. You are valuable simply as you are. You are whole not only with your successes, but also with your wounds. Dirty or clean, broken or perfectly healthy. None of these determine the value of your essence. Truly loving eyes can see the golden heart beneath your dusty shell. He will always see it. Now take a deep breath and remember, even in the darkest night, the brightest star is within you. Never determine your worth by the noise of the outside world, the judgments of others, or the temporary difficulties life brings. You are priceless simply for existing, with your wounds, your successes, and all your experiences. Remember that immense power within you and that unique, unextinguishable light with every breath. Thank you for accompanying us on this inner journey, this sacred walk. Until we meet again in the next story on those peaceful and ancient paths of the soul. May your mind be calm and your heart filled with self-love, because you are very precious. May your soul always be filled with peace. Until we meet again on our next inner walk, farewell.